Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and we're back just with a little bit more Total War shenanigans. We do have Gepidors on the Lizardmans versus Codex, who's going to be using an interesting build here with some interesting ideas on the side of the Vampire. It's Vampire Coast. Pretty exciting game. Watched this during a tournament that we casted live not so long ago, and let's take a look at what we have going on here on the side of Gepidors and the side of the Lizards. We are going to have Kroq-Gar. Oh, there we go. Kroq-Gar, who's going to be having that cold-blooded to stop the rampage. Hand of the Gods as well, which of course is a nice little projectile. Predatory Fighter, just giving him some extra buffs, which of course just an inherent thing from the Lizards. We are going to have deployed here in the woods with some Chameleon Skinks, even more Chameleon Skinks. And then a front line then of Saurus warriors with shields, doing their part. The Blessed Saurus and even more Blessed Saurus then as well for some extra oomph. The Umbral Tide here, the Salamander Aurora. I believe they are the Aurora anyway. And then of course some Skinks just in the background with a Feral Stegodon, the Skink Priest of Heavens, having that Chain Lightning just to clear out some of that chaff, and another Feral Stegodon. Wowzerinos. And then in the backfield we are going to have a Chameleon Stalker in the background just to play puck with Codex's backline. And then we have of course the animated Hulks on either flank. I think there's 3 of them hidden here somewhere. No, just the 2. Some Shade Wraith Gunners. Say that one quick, I dare you. Some gunnery mobs, and then a front line then of the zombies mixed in here. I don't think he took any of the Ceratosans this time. No, because he took Celostra. And this is the interesting part. Celostra, of course, because they don't have very much mobility, is going to be going for the Tide Call. Ghosts of the Past for that summoned units of knights. I'm not foreshadowing, trust. And then Denizens of the Deep just to plop some of the Crabos in the middle of it. And then, of course, your regular pole arms. Just a nice little tidy blob. Just a little box with the cannonades just to take out some of those big things. Excellent. I think that's pretty much everything. Damn Paladin, of course, that was legal during the tournament. Sort of anti-heroes, Deadly Onslaught, all of that good stuff. Just a duelist doing duelist things. And there we go. As we are going to see everyone get into position now, we're going to see some kite elements. It is Conquest, so the Fruit Rules attacking rule doesn't really apply, but of course, the Lamprey's Revenge here is going to be a hard thing to take out. They can do some serious damage as we see the Chameleon Stalkers reset to try and get everything set up. Animated Hulks for that little bit of mass, just to stop some shenanigans. The damn Paladin is definitely living up to his namesake, as he's just going to skedaddle forward as they reset their formation to try and set up, to try and take down everything Chameleon Stalkers. The Chameleon Skink, in the backfield here, getting ready to take some pot shots at some cool things that deserve to be taken down, as we're just going to fast forward this just a smidge while everything gets into position. And now we see it, we are getting everything kind of set up here for the dive. Damn Paladin takes on an awful lot of damage there, as the cannonades now are going to shoot down a Kroq-Gar. Shade Wraith Gunners trying to move themselves into a better position, expecting some Vanguard shenanigans, no doubt. Which did happen, as we are going to see now the skirmish element. The skirmish phase has begun, as we're starting to see these animated Hulks take some pretty substantial damage here. The damn Paladin as well taking some damage, as they are all going to try and get the dive on them. It is important to get rid of that mass, so that anything you do have to try and dive in is going to be a little bit safer. It's going to be easier than to break through that front line without that supporting big heavy dudes to do the damage that they need to do. So we're going to see these chaps just kind of kite it out a little bit, try not to get shot to bits, go back into stalk, which I believe they are now back stalking once more, get some better angles, try and get this, but the gunners are going to turn around to get into position to try and take it out. Cannonades here just going to continue taking these pot shots, probably should be aiming at the Feral Stegodons, considering that really heavy anti-armor, they are anti-large, yes indeed they are. And to get some extra damage in there, as we are going to see now the animated Hulks trying to get sick of being swatted by these mosquitoes, that is the Chameleon Skinks. Doing some really good damage as they're continuing to kite out there. The damn Paladin is again earning up to that namesake, being very much damned here. He's going to go threaten a dive, as we are going to see these chameleons continue to get that good damage. The closer they are, the more damage they are going to do, more of their shots are going to hit. So it's not a terrible strategy. They do end up getting hit, probably the micro elsewhere in the field is being really catching them off guard. Gep still doing a good job of continuing to kite this stuff out. The damn Paladin is still taking a lot of damage. Animated Hulk's now finally starting to crumble, which isn't ideal. Not quite in disintegration range yet, but they are taking a lot of damage here all the way through. And in this here, we are going to see the Skink cohort manage to go for the dive here on the Gunnery Mob, but that's going to be Rotting Promethean summoned in right in on top of them. They're going to be... It's lizard for breakfast by the looks of things, chaps. As you do now see these Saurus Warriors finally move in. The damn Paladin is continuing to be damned and disgraces the Umbral Tide, just hanging back, waiting for some good opportunities to move in, as this cohort of Sotek, the Red-Crested Skinks Aura War, is getting shot up. Looking at this here, the pew-pews. If Codex wasn't making pew-pew noises during all this fight, I'd be very, very disappointed, as these Lamprey's Revenge still hanging back. Looking at this here, the Chameleon Stalkers are now inching forward, just to get some good shots in, as we are seeing some counter battery here from the Gunnery Mobs, doing some decent damage into these Skinks, but we do see the Saurus Warriors are now chopping their way through, and that's the damn Paladin getting taken out here by both the Chameleon Skinks and of course Gorok, Krokgar, not Gorok, Rippa. As now the Umbral Tide is making pew-pew noises, and without that mobility to have to worry about, this isn't looking so good. And Vampirates are going to have a hard time trying to take them out, as they are raining hell from slightly above. I don't know. They're on top of a little hill here. That's what we'll go. As Solastra has finally sent out the damned Knights Errant, who are going to be doing their damnedest to skedaddle along the side here, not get caught up by any of that infantry. The Lizards caught a little bit unprepared here for this dive. They are going to take them out, as they are going to launch that nice charge. Look at this, the ride of the Dead Hiram coming up the hill. Going to be slowed down a little bit with some Skink cohorts coming in to try and support, but I think it's too little, too late. Good night, good luck. Fair play to you, lads. You did your best. But that's going to be the end of the Umbral Tide here, as we are going to see the Skink Priest here just try and move in and support just a little bit, but it's way too little too late, as the Umbral Tide here are going to be cut to ribbons. These chaps still have a considerable amount. 7, 6. They're probably going to have them broken, not routed, here in just a second. Got some really good value out of this. How much value do they get? Then about 1,000 value off of that one. Yeah, and that's them sent off the board. Good night, chaps. As the damn Knight Errant's 20 seconds. It was 26. Going to try and inch across here. Prevent the dive here in the Lamprey's Revenge. Go in for a dive here. Try and win this side of the fight. It's not looking good for the Vampires. They still have an awful lot of value, that Lamprey's Revenge, doing an awful lot of heavy lifting. Solastra dire. Solastra trying her damnedest, as we are seeing the last of the skirmish elements just shoot their last shots before they're taken off. But it does look like it's going to be a very, very good win for the Lizardmans here. They're doing a phenomenal job. Solastra, of course, on foot. But there we go. We do see the Chain Lightning come down. Try and get an extra little bit of damage. But that's going to be a little bit of friendly fire, I think. Although it does skirt just aside. And the Lizards clean up whatever's left. Nicely done. The point is still owned by the Vampirates, though. If they can just about manage to hold the last of it here, as the Lamprey's Revenge are going to continue shooting their way. I think they still have the ability to shoot in close combat. No, it doesn't look like they're there. Oh, no, there we go. Ripping some shotgun shots. Clay pigeons, but they're actually dinosaurs. Epic. As the balance of power finally starts to completely go into army lost territory, slowly but surely. As Solastra doesn't really have the ability, even with Tide Call, I don't think she has the ability to kite this one out. Gonna be caught singing her last tune before she's sent back into the death. Sending her off into the grave, as a Stegodon is going to be trying to chase her off here. She's getting pushed. I think she's like, no, it's time to go home. Last call. As it's the Lamprey's Revenge going down. GG's. For Gep. Codex having that good strat with the Knights of the Damned to come in and take out any of the mobility elements, but it was just a little bit too little too late. Stegodons didn't do great, but they had good mass to be able to help that front line do what it needed to do. Umbral Tide suffered really badly. Krotgar, 1200 value, not bad, not bad. Not getting good value off of these casts here, but the Saurus cleaving their way through. And on the other side, Celostra, not taking into account the Umbral Tide getting absolutely shredded. Paladin, not doing great either. Frontline did frontline things. The bombs didn't have an opportunity to shoot very well. Handgunners kind of got compromised as well. And so too with the Shade Wraith Gunners. I'll get to say that properly yet. Animated Hulks got cleft in twain by both the Umbral Tide and, of course, the Chameleon Skinks. Cannonade's not doing great either. Nah, the real thing that did work here was the Lamprey's Revenge. But thanks a million, everyone. I'll see you in the next one. Oh, bye bye.